Yeah.
I can't.
Okay, stop. I'll be back over.
Hey, sorry, I was helping Leighton.
Oh, no, okay.
What? Where is everyone?
Oh, no, it's okay.
We can hear you. Bring in your own groceries.
Leighton, what's the password?
Hey guys, how's everybody doing?
Living the dream, Shawn. Living the dream.
Do you have a camera on? Oh yeah. Hello. Oh, that's a cool bed. Hi.
Bye.
Doesn't seem to be showing me up.
Go
Yeah?
down to the bottom and there's a way to turn your video on.
Wait. Oh, okay. Is that it?
Gotcha. How are you
Okay,
guys?
now turn it off.
All right, got about 5 minutes. So we'll see who else jumps on here with us. And then we'll wait on Coach Andy.
Hey, Shawn.
Andy, what's going on, man?
Not much. I turned some volume up here. Holy smokes.
You hear this?
Can you hear us okay?
Okay. Is that better?
Yeah, we can hear you great. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Cool. And Andy, there should be a way for you to turn your video on.
Where's that?
How long is
the bottom of the page there.
There it is. That it?
Awesome. There you go. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Shawn.
So we got a few more minutes here. We'll wait and see who else jumps on. Looks like we got quite a few kids and parents on now. So we've been doing these Zoom sessions pretty much every night. And let's see, last week we had Rowdy Gaines came on for a little while.
Wow.
And we had Rick Payne. You might know Rick Payne. Used to coach there at Nebraska. Was on to talk about recruiting last week. So we've got a few more of these little talks set up for this week, and appreciate you taking some time to come on.
All I got is time right now.
You're in the same boat as everybody else, right?
Miserable. Are you guys as bored as I am?
Hey, it's okay to talk, guys.
It's not boredom.
How do I turn the thing off?
It's like spending a week at the insane asylum.
Oh, gosh.
Tell me how to turn it off. What do you want to turn off?
Yeah, so you guys are out of the water, I'm assuming.
We got some good news. We might be one of the few states to start up before everyone else because we just don't have very many cases.
That's
We're
good.
just so sparsely populated. How are things in Houston?
That's all it's gonna show them.
It's pretty much completely shut down everywhere. I mean, even the teams that own their own water are done. Just shut
Ethan, how do you
down.
turn your video on?
It's tough. Everybody's trying to come up with things to do to keep teams together and keep people engaged and
Sure.
keep kids moving. All those things. So it's everybody's scrambling right now.
Yep. Yeah, I was talking with what's his name, Wes from the University of Virginia the other day, and basically the swimmers are just sending them what they're doing. If they can find pool space, and most of the people from Florida who have their own backdoor pool and stuff like that. So
yeah,
it's just bizarre.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people swimming in 10, 15-yard pools with bungees and doing a lot of that kind of stuff right now. So all right, we'll give it a couple more minutes here, Andy, and then we'll get going.
Sounds good.
I had a couple questions to lead off with, and then we'll open it up to kind of a Q&A. That's all right with you.
Yeah, happy to help.
All right, looks like we got a couple senior kids jumping on, so that's good. So I alluded in the email today, Andy and I worked together for a summer at the Woodland swim team. Andy was kind enough to hire me when he was the interim head coach there, and had a great summer working with Andy and someone in the swimming business that I have a lot of respect for and that I think has a lot of knowledge to share. So again, Andy, thanks for taking a few minutes to talk with us.
Happy to talk with you guys.
So Andy's experience is pretty vast. He's an ASCA level 5 coach. Spent a lot of time at the Bellevue Club swim team up in Seattle as head coach and senior coach there for, I think, 13 years?
Yeah, 13. Yeah.
So the Bellevue Club, for those of you guys that don't know, is a very large upscale health fitness club, kind of tied in with a hotel, almost like a resort type property. Am I correct, Andy?
Close, yeah, close. It's very affluent. Bill Gates is a member. I mean, so it's in the heart of Bellevue, but it's a pretty amazing setup that they have there.
The reason I'm asking is we're in kind of a similar boat. We're based out of a fitness center.
Okay.
That's tied in with a hotel property here in Clear Lake. 40,000 square foot health and fitness center with amenities, 2 different pools, so on and so forth. So there's, I think, quite a few parallels between the club team at Bellevue and the club team that we have here at South Shore Sales. Bellevue has a long history of success and tradition, and it's a little bit of a different model than your typical nonprofit club team that practices, say, out of high schools.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about your time in Bellevue and what makes that club work so well.
Well, I think what makes it work so well is
turn off your volume.
Hey guys, let's turn off your microphones if you're not asking a question, okay?
I think what makes it special is when they started the facility in 1979, I think it opened up, and the head coach at the time was a guy named Klaus Schenk, and he's a great guy, just an amazing human being. And he got into the beginning and worked with the owners and the athletic director so that the club actually embraced the swim team and made them kind of a priority. Whereas there's a team just across town called the Pro Club, which is Microsoft's version of the Bellevue Club. And they got in after the club was built. And so they're kind of like second-class citizens almost there. Whereas the Bellevue Club, the swim team, was a priority. We were the kind of flagship for the team. We represented Bellevue Club well. So it was a much different environment than other athletic clubs that I've talked to. And so I think that was just the benefit of Klaus getting in there. And so we got premium water time, much to the chagrin of a lot of the members. But the club is 350 kids right now, I think, is what Andrew, when I last talked with Andrew, he's got. And they got a waiting list a mile long of kids wanting to join that facility.
Yeah, and they've got it done. They, you know, for some of you senior kids that are on the call, I think they won Juniors West in December. But the same model, the same setup that we have now. So you know, there are some parallels, and I guess the message that I'm trying to convey is that we have all the tools to do exactly what they're doing at Bellevue, right here at South Shore.
Yeah, no, it sounds like your facilities. I mean, 2 pools, and that's great. I mean, if you see the dungeons I'm swimming in right now, you'd be amazed at that we can even get kids, you know, to nationals, let alone, I mean, a high school meet. So yeah.
So Andy took the job in at Central Iowa in September.
Of last year. So I've been here about a year and a half.
Okay, so you've been about a year and a half. I thought we had started about the same time. So first year and a half with the club, and it's a club that also has some history there in Iowa, and some history of success. But what kind of things are you trying to bring to the table in your first year and implement there at Central Iowa?
Well, my predecessor and I are philosophically pretty different. He was a big volume guy, a lot of aerobic training, 3.5-hour practices, a lot of doubles. And that's just not something I necessarily agree with. I mean, that was how I was brought up swimming too, but I think times have changed, things have evolved. So I just made a shift from doing a lot of volume of freestyle to what I think is you're doing your swimmers a disservice if you're not training them in IM. I think IM, you have to, 1, be aerobically fit to be good at it. 2, you have to be good at all 4 strokes. So you got to work on your skills. And 3, it makes you versatile. If you can do a 400 IM, you pretty much can do any type of race other than maybe a 50 free. But 400 IM, if you're good at that, you can swim 100 free, 200 free, 500 free, 200 back, 100 back, and so on. And you can go up to the mile. The boy I had who went 420 at juniors this last year and in the 500 free, he trains IM mostly, and it helped his 500 out. Even he even swears by it because your heart rate stays at a much higher rate. You're probably around 180 or 180 plus when you're training IM, which is anaerobic threshold for those you don't know, but it's the optimum training heart rate, in my opinion.
And we talked about this quite a bit in the summer that we spent in the Woodlands together, just developmental philosophy and rooted in a strong IM base, training for the middle distance so swimmers can swim up, swim down, and be as versatile as possible at the age group level. So if you don't mind, talk to us for a minute about your developmental philosophy with your program there in Iowa, and what you're trying to accomplish from the 10 and under program on through to the senior program.
I was blessed when I inherited a really good age group coach. Her name is Kate Davey. Her husband was John Davey, who was a Olympian for England, and Kate was 4-time All-American Ohio State, and her kids are on the team. They're awesome kids. And she is an amazing woman. And I always say I might be the head coach, but she's the boss because she's so sharp and she's so thorough. But we have very similar philosophies with our youth. It is technique first. It is skills first. We're not into training them, just throwing garbage yards at them. We want them to have these skills. And slowly as they progress, then we'll start introducing more training and a little more, the training mindset. But always, even with the seniors, we work, we do skills. First half an hour is always skills. We're working on something before we get to work. And when you only got a 2-hour practice, I mean, I think it's 30 minutes is plenty, but we still want to keep those guys refined and performing because you're all, as a swimmer, you are limited by your technique. Okay, your ceiling is much lower if you're not paying attention to your technique and doing things right. So we want to make sure we're giving ourselves an opportunity to become the best versions of ourselves we can. And the easiest way is good technique.
Yeah. And this to circle back around to something that I used to hear you say on the pool deck quite a bit with the senior group at the Woodlands is you have to have some cognitive function when you're practicing.
That's right. Pay attention to what you're doing. Yeah.
You have to think about what you're doing. Otherwise you're wasting your time. You're just going through the motions, right?
Yeah.
So
I got that from an article from somebody much smarter than me who wrote it. And it was basically a scientist came into a swim practice and he told the coach, said, swim a 500, swim 500. And then the guy asked him, what were you guys thinking about during that 500? And they were thinking about getting from A to B. They were not thinking about how they were getting from A to B. And I thought that was kind of mind opening for me. And I believe it's true. You have to be paying attention at all times to what you're doing.
Awesome. And I've got one last thing for you before we open up Q&A. And just one of the things I thought you were really good at when we worked together at the Woodlands is building a concept of team and a culture that is based on that team concept.
Yeah.
Talk for a minute, if you would, about how important that team concept is, even in individual sport.
Yeah, it's Klaus at the Bellevue Club said you're giving individual attention in a team environment. He was a big believer in the team aspect. It's important that everyone is there supporting each other, because be honest, guys, swimming is a pretty miserable sport at times. You're just going back and forth and staring at a black line. But if you have teammates there to support you, who are also going through the same struggles that you're going through, and even some of the same success you're going through, it's really, really a powerful tool to motivate you and keep you excited about the sport. Just the same as a teammate who's mean to you can bring you down. Teammates who are good to you can bring you up. And it's really important that you put the team first. I still have, I can't say his name because he's coaching in college right now, but he said he wanted to scratch his individual events, or he wanted to scratch the relay so he could focus on his individual events and finals. And I went and scratched him for his individual event and put him on the relay. And I just said, if you're here for your teammates at a championship meet, that's where our priority is. We're not swimming for ourselves. We're swimming for the guys who are swimming, who share the lanes with us and are also representing the team at this meet.
Yeah, I think that's an important lesson to learn early on.
Yeah.
And it sounds like he got the message.
No, I don't think he did. I think he was pretty upset with me. Luckily, it was his last meet with me before he went off to Wisconsin to swim. And I've seen him since then, but I don't think he ever fully forgave me for that. So.
All right, guys. Well, at this point, anybody have any questions for Coach Andy?
Don't be shy.
Go ahead, guys. All right, I got a question from Willie on any technique tips for breaststrokers.
Oh, okay. Well, that's one of the best things about Coach working with Kate Davies. She was awesome breaststroker herself, but she's an incredible describer of breaststroke. And one thing she really emphasizes is line, getting your body into line and making sure you're as narrow as you possibly can, getting that head down between the arms, fully extended, making yourself as tight as you possibly can. We're basically, she's really good about making sure you're almost falling forward with each stroke, and that you really get in as long a line as you can, and make sure you don't start your next pull until your feet have touched. But yeah, that's the one we've been picking up. She was working with, I don't know if you guys know Annie Laser.
Yeah.
Swims out of Indiana. She and Kate know each other. And so Kate's actually kind of going over to Indiana every now and then and working with her. And Annie's stroke, I think, is the best breaststroke I've ever seen. She may not be the fastest, probably make the Olympic team in the 200, but her breaststroke, I think, is about as efficient a breaststroke as I've ever seen.
Yeah, and that's a distance per stroke, and you just kind of alluded to that as well. Yeah. And something that we see a lot, especially with age groupers, is you get into that good body line, and then you're in this big rush to get out of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Ride that line out. That's the fastest part of your breaststroke. Don't be in a rush to start the next cycle right away.
All you guys, do yourself a favor and watch the ACC Women's Championships, or I guess maybe they're co-ed, I can't remember. But 200 breast, the girls from Virginia and North Carolina State, and they have similar coaching background. DeSorbo of Virginia was coaching at North Carolina State. But watch the girls. They're all taking 5 and 6 strokes per length, which is awesome.
What else we got for Coach Andy? Anybody?
What's your best tip for 10 and unders for them to focus on?
Oh, that's like herding cats a lot of the times. Once a week, I work with our intro group. I mean, these are intro, like right out of swim lessons. And I swear to God, it's they just have trouble paying attention. So I have a really awesome 10 and under coach, and she makes it entertaining. But she explains everything with them out of the pool, not in the pool where they can swirl around. And she's just very patient with them. But she tries to get the 10 unders to focus on skills. We got these headsets that swimmers can put on their head, and they can swim, and 10 under coach can talk to them. They can hear it in the water. And that actually works great, really great with the 10 and unders. The older kids, they don't want to hear me. I've tried it with them, and they get up, they just don't want to listen to me. But the 10 unders, they love it, and you can give immediate feedback, and you can see them actually make adjustments. So if you don't have any, I advise you to take a look at them. We can get them for relatively inexpensive, but yeah, for 10 unders, we want them to have a good time. We also want to make sure that when they're playing stuff, they're paying attention, so they can apply the skills to them.
All right, we had a question from Madison, another breaststroke question, and the question is, what do you think is the best training format for a breaststroker? And Andy, I think to translate what she's asking is, how much breaststroke should a breaststroke specialist be training?
How old is she?
15.
15. I think she should be doing. We do main stroke stuff from time to time, but I think maybe two times a week you should have at least one big breaststroke set. The rest of the time it should be supplemented with IM and basic free recovery stuff. But also, I mean, a solid breaststroke set, but you should also be working on your kick, working on your pull, working on drills and stuff like that can help with it too. But let me say, there's two types. There's swimmers and then there's breaststrokers. Breaststrokers are always kind of a little quirky, and they just kind of only want to do breaststroke. And that's great. But if you're a growing person, you can really be hard on your knees, hard on your shoulders if you're overdoing it. And that's true for any stroke if you overdo it for any one stroke. You see it a lot of time in freestyle. When all they do is freestyle, their shoulders get worked out. So my advice is just try to make it as balanced as you can when there's just those times for you to get a solid breaststroke set and do it, but it should not be an everyday type process.
What about mental training with your swimmers? Do you guys do any mental training? I mean, I know, obviously we do goal setting and things like that, but do you ever walk your kids through visualization or anything like that before races?
Not necessarily that. I've had speakers come in and talk to them. It is a huge aspect of it, but a lot of it is done during our goal session where we talk about it, and then I remind them constantly of it at practice, what we should be focusing on. But I'd say that's probably a weakness of mine that I don't spend enough time doing it. But no, there's true value there. But yeah, it is something we establish in our goal session, and then we talk about it and we carry out throughout the season. So
awesome. Anybody else? Questions for Coach Andy?
Come on, kiddos, don't be shy.
Yeah, Willie, I saw you had a question, but it disappeared on me. Go ahead and
how does
Mike can ask.
Optimal stroke rate?
Optimal stroke rate depends on the individual. There's a coach at Texas named Rourke Fink, and I knew him when he was coaching in Arizona. I used to do like pace sets to warm kids up, and he kind of said, Andy, if you really want to get good at this, you should do more tempo work. And the tempo is different for each individual. I mean, there's certain ranges you want to fall under, depending on the event, depending on the distance, depending on the stroke. Are too quick. If you're not holding water, it's not a very good stroke count. And then after that, you kind of work with your coach and determine what is the ideal stroke rate for you for that event.
We had another breaststroke question come in. Lots of breaststrokers on the call today for some reason, but how wide should the breaststroke kick be?
I like your knees in line with your hips and ankles going just outside the knees and sweeping in. Okay, not a big fan. If you watch what's his name, the British guy, Adam Peaty, it's just a push back. And that's kind of the trend where it's going right now. I still think there needs to be some sweep. I don't think it can just be a straight mule kick, but I think knees in line with hips, Ankles going outside the knees and sweeping together.
So not too wide, trying to reduce frontal drag, but still catch
Exactly.
some water back there.
Yep.
Good question from a parent. These senior kids, how often, how many times a week, how long should they be working dry land?
Well, we do 3 times a week. When I was Bellevue, we did 4 times a week because it was on-site facility. We have to go off-site here. I think in my swimming, my lifetime, the biggest changes in swimming, one is breaststroke, being able to put your head underwater. 2, dolphin kick. And 3 is dry land. And dry land, I think, is paid huge dividends. Was he there doing strength training with us at the time?
What's that?
You remember Sam Joseph, the dry land coach?
Yeah.
He talked about when he was doing strength training at LSU. Nowadays, shirt off, you can't tell the difference between a swimmer and a football player. They all do the same type of exercises. And I think it's really, I was just at the Tier Pro Series last month. Those guys are huge. They're just giant athletes now. And so those are the 3 things. So as long as you're doing dry land that is appropriate for your age and your development, and that you're allowing yourself some space so you can grow and do more dry land at college, I think 3 to 4 times a week is great.
Awesome. Any other questions for Coach Andy?
They're all scared.
Yeah, well, it's funny. We did a meetup with the 10 and under group yesterday, Andy, and we had fart noises and all kinds of stuff going on, and now we have a swim coach and everybody's quiet. All right. Anybody else before we let Coach Andy go?
Come on, guys. This is the most fun I've had in the last 2 weeks.
Another good question from Madison. Best advice for a 400 IM, and I think she's looking for race advice, Coach.
Oh, see, I love the 4 IM. Okay. The way I describe it to my swimmers is you're going to build the first 100 fly, or we're going to float the first 50, build the second 50 of the fly. Backstroke, we want to establish tempo, because if you watch the really top end IMers, they push the back leg, and the people who are recovering from the fly leg, they get passed by. So you got to push the backstroke. Maintain your length on the breaststroke. Don't shorten your arms up. Make sure you're getting that full glide in there, like we talked about earlier. And then freestyle, you just kind of go for it. It's whatever you got left in it. If you're swimming at long course, obviously you want to try to back that free a little bit. Short course, just go for it. You got those walls, right? So, yeah. We talk about build the fly, tempo on the back, long and strong on the breast, all you got on the free.
Okay, and then another question came in, some training tips as well for the 400 IM.
You don't have to do a lot of fly to get good at it. I'll do sets like 250s fly, negative split. Then we'll work 100. We'll go 100 back, 100 free, 100 back, 100 breast. We're working tempo, and then we're working long and strong, and then free all you got. We do 400 IMs, but mostly it's broken up. A lot of it. We'll do other stuff like 50 fly, 100 back, 150 breast, 200 free, things of that nature. Just so we can, because it's all about the back end for the 4 IM. Front end, you just kind of want to get through it unscathed with energy, so you can push through the middle and the final end. So IM's fun. You can make. I mean, if you have a creative coach, and Shawn, I'm pretty sure is pretty creative, you can come up with some great IM sets. There's a lot of moving parts there, and you can make it pretty interesting.
So couple questions. First, kind of follow up. I remember Big John Vogel and I had talked about IM one time a couple years ago, and we talked about the breaststroke portion not being an equal 25% quarter leg of that race.
From a time standpoint, it's not.
It's weighted a little bit differently, and it kind of goes into what you're talking about with the back half. But if you have a good breaststroke,
You can make up big ground.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think back and breast are the two most important legs in the IM. Fly, because I think that does not have much impact. Back, because people want to rest on it. If you got a good back, you can just take off. And if you got breaststroke, you're blessed. It's just a powerful tool to have, because like I said before, there's swimmers and then there's breaststrokers. And if you got a good breaststroke, you got a skill that most people don't have.
Another good question, I believe, from a parent: how many times a day should kids be training? And we're talking age group kids here.
Yeah.
And what should the focus be when they're at practice?
Well, age groupers' focus should always be technique and skills. The older you get, you're going to have to do some training. You can't get away with not training, but focus should always be on skills. And we don't start doing doubles till our kids get in high school. So we're doing singles throughout their development. Our youngest kids only go 3 times a week, and then the next guys go up maybe 5 times a week, but it's only an hour practice, and so on. So there's a natural progression, because you just don't want to give them too much too soon. And it's a long process to get through this. If you start swimming at age 5, you could be swimming for 18 years. And you just rush. If you try to rush it, yeah, you might have some early success, but what kind of long-term problems are you creating by pushing them too much too soon? I have a small team. We're about 120 swimmers. And so I get kids as young as 13 or 7th grade in my group, and I worry about that 6-year shelf life with me. So I don't let them do doubles. I don't necessarily push them as hard as I could, because I want them to swim well, not just for me, but my goal is for them to swim well in college. That's where their fastest swimming should be. It should not be with me. We should be arming them and getting prepared to swim their best in college. I use this line all the time. There's 2 types of coaches. There's a coach who looks at a swimmer and says, "What can I do for you?" And there's one who looks at him and says, "What can you do for me?" The ones who are who are trying to make a name for themselves and are not really taking the value of what they're doing and how the impact they're having on the athletes, I have nothing but disrespect for those guys.
And unfortunately, there's quite a few of them out there.
Yep.
But the good coaches are the coaches that gravitate towards this profession because of the love of the children and helping the children get to where they want to go.
Amazing experience. When you got a kid graduating high school and he's been with you for, 13 years or whatever it's been, it's awesome that they survived. 1, that they survived, but 2, that they've enjoyed it and they wanted to be there for 13 years. And maybe they're going to go swim in college, maybe not. I don't know, but it's a great experience.
Yeah. So question from a parent. Do you believe in private lessons, and do you guys do those at your club?
We don't have the water time to do it. Okay. And I believe in private lessons under these conditions. The athlete is coming to practice every day, is listening to their coach, is applying what the coach is telling them to do. And for some reason or another, it's just not getting through. That's the only way. If you're trying to throw money at a problem, I call it like the triathlete problem. If you want, triathletes throw money at anything. If they want to swim faster, they buy a faster suit. But I think private lessons can be beneficial if that other criteria is being met, that they are doing everything they're being told to do, and if for some reason it's just not working. And I also advise the private lessons to be coming in-house first. I don't advise going outside, because then you're going to maybe get conflicting issues or conflicting data or information given to them. And so I think it's better just to keep it under one roof.
Awesome. Question from a swimmer on some advice on developing underwaters, and I believe they're talking streamline underwater fly kick, undulation.
Just got to do it every day. That's the thing. The biggest one we work on, we call it worm. Well, I call it worm. Kate, my assistant, calls it pulse. But we do a lot of just initiating the kick from our sternum and dragging the legs. Initially, I'll put fins on it, but just that slight sternum press, and you can feel the undulation naturally come. I think a lot of people, when they're learning dolphin kick, are just going from knees down or hips down, and you're just missing out on using your core to generate that power. Watch underwater videos of guys doing dolphin kick. Their shoulders and head are still. It's all coming from the sternum and going down. I mean, there's little movement. I mean, I think it's impossible, but they're really not moving their head up and down. They are locked into place, and they're just generating a lot of force doing that. So I would, like I said, start with that, just that worm concept, pushing your sternum down to learn when to initiate the undulation. And then,
Yeah, I think that's important to talk about initiating the undulation at the sternum in here.
Yeah.
And not leading the dolphin kick with the head, because we do see a lot of that with age groupers. Almost the breaststroke breath type action with their underwater dolphin kick.
Yeah.
You want the head to be still, and you want the head to be locked in between the arms, and you want that dolphin kick to start right here in your chest.
I agree. And then the other thing is just you got to do it every day. I have people asking me, you know, they ask swimmers that say, why is my dolphin kick sting? It's because you never do it off the wall. That's why. It's just the same thing. We're talking about cognitive function. You need to pay attention to what you're doing every turn. You need to do, I don't know, I don't care if it's 2 or 3 kicks, but just do it every time, because it's not going to miraculously happen in a meet.
Yeah, and Rowdy, one of the things that he talked about with us last week was, you know, the key component he felt to his career was consistency.
Yeah.
You know, even in the highs and the lows and peaks and valleys, good days and bad days, that if you could bat 900, okay, and be consistent in this sport, that it would pay dividends.
Sure.
And, this is an instance of that. If you commit to getting better underwater and doing dolphin kicks every time you push off a wall in practice, a few weeks will go by and then you won't even notice that you're doing it. You're developing a habit.
Yeah. No, I have that swimmer I was talking about, the 500 guy, went 420. He couldn't do, when I got here a year and a half ago, he couldn't do dolphin kick or flutter kick really that fast, because all he did was pull and swim distance. He now can push 25, 50 kick, and he does 4 dolphin kicks every wall every time, and it's just paid huge dividends on him.
Awesome. Any other questions for Coach Andy Pym?
No one on our team will ask it. What's the difference between training as a sprinter, training as a distance swimmer?
Well, I've really never trained straight sprinters. I pretty much do middle distance, but obviously there's going to be more volume in the distance. Sprint's going to require a lot more power work. Your dry land is going to be different. It's going to be more plyometric power type development. You know, sprinting, it's about precision too, because you make any error and it's over. Whereas distance, you might have some ground you can make up if you make a mistake from a racing standpoint. Yeah, I mean, you're just going to make, for me, if I'm going to do sprint work, if I was to do it, if I had a sprint group, they would train pretty much middle distance, 4 out of the 6 practices a week. And then on mornings and maybe 2 other days, they'll do something sprint centric, something power work. You're doing some resistance work, doing it with bands, doing it with towers, whatever. I just, you know, I look at 18 and unders, and some guys can go, 20 seconds, and that's good, but they're going to go 18 seconds in college, and that's because they're going to be specialized, and college coaches will take care of them. I just like I said, I want to have these guys armed and ready to do whatever the coaches want them to do.
Had a good question from Willie. How long, if you're committing to developing your kick, whether it be underwater dolphin kick, flutter kick, how long will it take before you start seeing results from that commitment? Yeah,
it probably varies swimmer to swimmer. And it might be gradual too, like you start out and you're only doing 4 off a wall. And actually, you might even go backwards initially just because you're changing a habit. But it's okay to take 1 step back if we're going to get 4 steps forward with it. But I mean, yeah, if the technique has to come first, and then the conditioning and the programming of doing it all the time. So it's different for every person. I used Trent, the guy I was talking about, as an example. It took him a year to get really good at it, but he worked at it for a year. And it was gradual. I mean, he was progressing along, but so there was definitely, you saw him getting better at it, but it's just, it never ends. I mean, you talk to Eddie Reese, those guys, they do at least 1,000 dolphin kick every day, at least 1,000 straight dolphin kick. And those guys get better, and you're getting faster too. So let me just answer this. You'll see results relatively quick. You will not be seeing the best you can possibly be really quick. That's going to be a lifelong progression.
All right. Anything else for Coach Andy?
Hey, Coach, at your program, what level do you go with the IMX program? I think it's very important. I just want to know what you guys did.
We actually don't use IMX. We encourage them to swim everything, but we don't have an IMX scoring system that we go by. Like I said, we train middle distance, but they go all over the place. I hope I didn't I was clear. I wasn't clear with that apparently, but yeah, no, we train very IM centric, but we don't do the IMX stuff.
Awesome. Anybody else? Okay, so best advice for getting better at flutter kick other than doing it all the time.
Pretend you're kicking your shoes off every time.
Okay.
A lot of knee bend in that. If you follow through or your knee retracts, that makes all the difference in the world. So just pretend you got shoes on and you're kicking them off every time you take a kick.
Good advice. Good advice. Anybody else, Coach Andy?
I just thought it was, and then
Anybody else before we let Coach Andy go? Awesome. Well, good to see everybody. Andy, one more time, thank you again.
Thanks for having me.
Coming on and sharing some knowledge with us. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you, John.
I'm sure we'll see you around at some point this summer, man.
Hoping to see you at trials, but maybe next year.
Yeah, we'll get there. Maybe nationals in August if we get there.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, man.
Thanks, man.
Everybody have a good night. See you. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.